Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. My name is John Paul Avila, and today I am doing my affirmative speech on the legalization of anabolic steroids in the United States of America. I do believe that anabolic steroids should be made legal for purchase within the United States of America, and as the affirmative side, I am arguing against the status quo. Some of the most popularized and financially profiting industries that operate within the U.S. have used anabolic steroids to enhance their product and essentially be more successful and make more profit. There's been a number of movie stars who have undergone these crazy physique changes within a short amount of time. Hugh Jackman is one of them. In between two of the Wolverine movies, he made quite the jump in physique and muscularity, and he got a lot leaner, and he did it at an older age. I believe he was in his 40s. Chris Hemsworth is another example for Thor. He claimed to have put on 40 pounds of muscle in 5 months to play Thor. Kumail Nanjiani also claims to have put on over 30 pounds of muscle for a Marvel movie. And all these actors, they've claimed to improve their physique without the use of anabolic steroids. Mickey Rourke, on the other hand, he portrayed Randy the Ram Robinson in a movie titled The Wrestler, where he also underwent one of these physique changes, and he claims to have put on 70 pounds of mass. But he was real lean and he was real muscular, and he said he did it using anabolic steroids alongside the diet and the working out, but he said he would not have reached the point that he did without the use of anabolics. Now, Dr. Mike Israetel, he's a professional bodybuilder with a doctorate in sport physiology, and he spent a number of years training professional bodybuilders and is also the co-founder of Renaissance Periodization. It's a YouTube channel. They have a couple million subscribers, and they post really great content on how to work out scientifically and get the best results. And so Dr. Israetel, he claims that the most muscle that a natural lifter could possibly put on, we're talking first year training when you're bound to build the most muscle, completely optimal condition, sleeping, eating, the most that a natural lifter could possibly put on is 20 pounds of muscle in a given year. And then every year after this, you're bound to put on less and less muscle as your body becomes adapted to what you're doing. And he says putting on more than 5 pounds of muscle second year going forward is nearly impossible. And so these actors saying that they put on 40 pounds of muscle in 5 months, 37 pounds of muscle in so many months, at their advanced age and with prior training within their lifetime, it makes no sense whatsoever. So now, just because they use anabolic steroids, it's not a bad thing. Actors always have put their bodies through, rigorous diets to fulfill a role and to best represent a character. And at the end of the day, acting is an art form, and these actors are dedicated towards bringing that art to life. So in no way, shape, or form do I deem anabolic steroids to be bad for these actors to accurately fulfill a role. However, I do believe if we are going to promote these movies and post these articles on how to get a physique like so-and-so, it's only fair to do so honestly. As long as anabolic steroids are looked down upon and are illegal, this will never be the case. People will always have false hope that they can achieve these incredible physiques naturally if we keep acting like this is real, this is possible. And this results in body dysmorphia for many individuals. Another realm of the entertainment industry that's benefited from anabolic steroids is professional wrestling. And I, like many other children growing up, idolized these professional wrestlers and wanted to look just like them. However, in 1994, Vince McMahon, who's the co-founder of the WWE, formerly WWF, he went to court for supposedly ordering his wrestlers to use anabolic steroids to look better in the ring. And the case was eventually dismissed, but this wasn't before 11 of his wrestlers took the stand and claimed to have used anabolic steroids. Only one said that Vince McMahon made him take steroids, which is why the case was ultimately dropped. But nonetheless, 11 wrestlers came forward saying that they've used anabolic steroids to further enhance their physique and give themselves a better opportunity to make more money, get more television time and whatnot. Hulk Hogan, who I'm sure we've all heard of, he's one of the biggest wrestling stars of all time and was one of the individuals who claimed to have used steroids. At his peak, Hulk Hogan was 6'7", over 300 pounds of pure muscle. You can see him in the top right corner here, and it seemed far-fetched, but his whole persona when he was at his peak was, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, work hard. Nothing to do with taking steroids. That pretty much went against his whole gimmick. But nonetheless, he used steroids to reach his physique, and he was looked up to by many and promoted a good message. Jesse Ventura, who's not pictured here, is another professional wrestler at the time who claimed to have used steroids. In an interview, he stated that he only used testosterone and gonadotropin. He said that was relatively light for his time period, which honestly is believable because a number of those guys have passed on since due to heart complications and other things of that nature. A couple of other wrestlers who now have YouTube channels and kind of share the secrets behind professional wrestling. Maven Huffman and Buff Bagwell have also claimed to use anabolic steroids during their wrestling careers. They both have YouTube videos where they go in depth and they talk about what they took and the effects that it had on their physique. And, again, we see people in the entertainment industry using anabolic steroids. I'm not saying that these individuals should use these substances necessarily, but I do believe that being transparent is far more beneficial than hiding the truth. And that's because, as I said earlier, you give people this false hope of what's attainable naturally, and that leads to the body dysmorphia, and that leads to the frustration with the physique, and ultimately people stop going to the gym because they're not getting the results that they want. These industries, they're so successful within the United States, and so much of their success comes from these massive, larger-than-life physiques, yet the substances they're using are illegal. And they're benefiting off of technically illegal activity. It seems like a ridiculous way to say it, but it is the truth. And the last industry that really benefits off of anabolic steroid uses is professional bodybuilding. You can see two of the best to ever do it, Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman, down in the bottom right corner. Professional bodybuilders within the International Federation of Bodybuilding, the IFBB, they are not shy to admit to the fact that they use anabolic steroids. And I mean, looking at them, it'd be hard-pressed to find anybody that believes that they're not on something. But within the IFBB, it's completely legal to use anabolic steroids. The issue I have is that the Mr. Olympia, the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world, is hosted in Las Vegas yearly. So once again, you have these athletes that are operating within the United States, benefiting off of using illegal substances. So for the everyday guy or girl that might want to use them, they can't get their hands on them, and if they do get their hands on them and get caught, then they're prone to being charged criminally. So a couple of the bodybuilders that I went into, Danny Padilla, he's one of the best bodybuilders of the 1980s, numerous top 10 finishes at the Olympia, and he had a crazy physique. I mean, he looked insane. And in an interview, Danny Padilla is from New York. He operated within the U.S. He claimed he used Dianabol and Decadurabolin throughout his career. Jay Cutler, in an interview, said that he would use between 500 milligrams and 1,500 milligrams total of anabolic steroids weekly in preparation for contests. And Ronnie Coleman, who many consider to be the king of professional bodybuilding, also used anabolic steroids. He said he only used testosterone and dianabol throughout his career, but nonetheless, those are substances that are illegal to get your hands on. So basically what I'm saying is, if within the United States these industries are going to profit off of athletes or movie stars or bodybuilders using anabolic steroids, then it's hypocritical to blame the everyday person for wanting to also use them and then criminally charge them for doing the same. Anabolic steroids are also available for purchase in many other countries over the counter. Just you can get them at your local supplement store. Canada and Mexico, our two neighboring countries, are two of the countries that allow for anabolic steroids to be purchased. On the official website of the Canadian government, there's an article documenting the usage of anabolic steroids, the risks involved, and how to safely use these products. Now, you won't find that within the U.S. You'll get a lot of people trying to obtain these substances illegally. They'll go through the black market, or they'll try and get faulty prescriptions. And at the end of the day, faulty prescriptions, you can be charged criminally. Or getting them on the black market, you're bound to get a substance that's cut with something else to make it cheaper or less effective or potentially even more dangerous than it already would be. Like I said, because of this, a quote from the Canadian website says, Canada regulates health products to be sold in Canada to make sure they meet requirements for safety, effectiveness, and quality. At the end of the day, America is said to be a free country, and if people want to use these substances, then there's no reason that we should not let them. They're not hurting anybody else. There's other substances out there that people use, which I'll get into later, but that are completely legal and even marketed constantly. So like I said, people will find a way to obtain these substances no matter what. And like I said, that's through the faulty prescriptions or the black market. Ronnie Coleman, in the same interview I mentioned prior, would talk about how he and the other bodybuilders would go to doctors and get prescriptions for the anabolic steroids they were using, which, like I said, is illegal if you don't need them. And like I said, with anabolic steroids being so prevalent, it just doesn't make sense to keep them illegal. It would allow the individual to make their conscious choice to use these drugs and allow them to do it in the safe and most effective way possible. So my last and final point is that one thing that many people refuse to admit is that America prides itself on physical appearance, physical beauty. And there's plenty of drugs and operations that are already legal that are just as dangerous and provide just as many side effects, to where it makes no sense to demonize anabolic steroids. Some of these, what I got on the screen here, you got Ozempic, weight loss drugs in general. You see a rhinoplasty, a plastic surgical procedure, and then these little vials right here are called SARMs, or selective androgen receptor modulators. So let's get into Ozempic. Ozempic has become one of the most popular weight loss drugs on the market. And it is indeed a fat loss drug that's intended to aid with those suffering from issues like type 2 diabetes. However, there's been many reports of individuals and celebrities who have used this drug just to help them lose weight, because you get a little assistance, it makes the diet a little easier, you see results faster. But this is not the intended use of this product. Similar to how a bodybuilder will use testosterone to enhance his physical appearance, yet there's actual medical reasons to use testosterone. And while he may not be using it for a medicinal purpose, he's using it to enhance his physique, and that's what people are doing with Ozempic. If we're going to classify using anabolic steroids as abusing a drug, then I think that Ozempic falls into that category. They both possess a number of dangerous side effects, and you can find this on the official Ozempic website. These include nausea, abdominal pain, constipation, diarrhea, vomiting, a potential risk of thyroid cancer, inflammation of the pancreas, changes in vision, low blood sugar, kidney problems, serious allergic reaction, and there's a possibility of food or liquid getting into the lungs during a surgical procedure requiring sedation. and it sounds pretty dangerous to me. However, millions of people are using it for its fat loss abilities. Last year, Novo Nordisk, the company that produces Ozempic and a number of other weight loss drugs similar to, made over $21 billion on the sales of these products. Sales were 89% higher than the prior year, and nearly 71% of these purchases came within the United States. Eli Lilly is another company that produces similar drugs, and they had sales of $482.5 million in 2022. However, the next year, 2023, sales skyrocketed to $5.2 billion. Now, these drugs aren't entirely safe. They're not, and neither are anabolic steroids. So how can we villainize one, but allow the other to be marketed constantly on television? Now, plastic surgery is another avenue that people go down to enhance their physical appearance. And once again, some plastic surgeries are needed, and they're beneficial to one's health, but oftentimes it's purely for aesthetic reasons. Plastic surgery also has its fair share of health risks. The Mayo Clinic lists these as complications related to anesthesia, which can result in pneumonia or death, infection at the wound site, fluid buildup under the skin, mild to heavy bleeding, scarring, separation of the surgical wound, and nerve damage. Now, plastic surgery is also gaining more and more popularity, with 5% more procedures performed this year and 7% more minimally invasive surgeries performed this year. Once again, no issue with plastic surgery, but how can we villainize one and allow the other to be marketed fully? I mean, this is a market that brings in billions of dollars of revenue each year, yet there's dangers to it, and there truly is no health-conscious reason to get it. Now, last but not least, you have SARMs, or selective androgen receptor modulators, and they're another product that is legal for purchase within the United States. You can get them at plenty of supplement stores. Now, SARMs were marketed as having the benefits of anabolic steroids without all the serious side effects. Now, this has been proven by the FDA to be untrue. They have the same side effects, if not worse, while producing worse results than anabolic steroids will. Now, SARMs are a different story because they're not totally allowed to be marketed because they have a label as being for research use only. However, you can still find them all across the country in plenty of supplement stores, and they're legal for purchase and legal to sell. Once again, a product that's used constantly by the people for purely aesthetic reasons. But for whatever reason, anabolic steroids continue to be villainized. Now, those are a couple of the reasons I feel like the United States needs to take a look and recognize that in a free country, people are allowed to do what they choose, and people drink and people smoke and people do a number of harmful things to their bodies. So how can we limit the use of anabolic steroids, but allow the production and marketability of everything else? To me, it just seems a bit hypocritical, and I hope that one day the American people will see this and bring this to the attention of the government, and we can make a change one day. Thank you for listening. I truly appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.